time to start recording. Can you guys? The recording has started. Transcript has started. Okay, sorry, guys. You have to watch me. Hey, I can be real special doof, and then tell me okay, if I'm not recording. So there's a saying by Edward Deming that just says, without data, you're just another person with an opinion. And I think you guys have you ever heard people at work talking or saying like, well, that's just anecdotal? Have you guys heard that when you say somebody says like, oh, that's anecdotal evidence, that's an anecdotal argument? Have you guys ever heard people throw that around? You can type in the chat. Let me open the chat and then we watch each other chat. Have people ever told you, or you've told them something and they go like, oh, that's highly anecdotal? You've ever heard this? Nobody's told you that? Oh, okay. So definitely in the future. Oh, sorry, that's what you said before. That's not okay. So anecdotal means it's actually not based on data. Can you guys give me an example of anecdotal things people say, maybe myths or anything that's anecdotal? Things that people believe but that actually has no data that backs it up. Can you think of any examples of anything anecdotal? Nothing? If I'm nothing anecdotal, you teach.
Employees saying they're not paid well.
Yeah, but they don't know what the market-related salary is.
Exactly, and what other people are getting paid.
Yeah, that's anecdotal. Although no employees are being paid enough, we should all get more money. But yes, that's anecdotal that we don't know. You're saying, oh, we're not being paid enough, but you don't actually know what the market-related salary for your position is. That's anecdotal. I mean, South Africa is full of anecdotal information. I'm in Cape Town doing some research workshops, and there's lots of anecdotal stuff that came out, that what we believe about parenting, like anecdotal stuff like you should give your child this thing and they will get better. It's not based on any data. That's just anecdotal stuff. So anecdotal decisions are actually quite dangerous. So anecdotal data is actually quite dangerous. It's never based on truth. And if you use it to make decisions on it, will later bite you in the butt. So that's what that is about. Okay. So even a small amount of clean, trustworthy data is more valuable than massive amounts of dirty data or no data at all. So you have to take a company very far away from that anecdotal decision making. And companies do make anecdotal decisions, or they make decisions that are not 100% anecdotal, but they're based on the past. Okay, so the past's truth in today is anecdotal. All right. So in order to take us to a data-driven organization, we're going to need tools, because we can't say we want to be data-driven without the tools. So we need the infrastructure to collect, store, and query information efficiently. We need skilled humans, and then skilled humans who can ask the right questions, because just having data is not enough. Like I said, a lot of the companies I work with data hoard. They actually pay an inordinate amount of storage for really not valuable data. So have you guys ever, like, is the word big data still such a massive buzzword? Do people still, when you walk around, Eriku and Ephraim, when you walk around a campus, is big data still a big word? Hey, Michael, is big data still a big buzzword? Marifa, at work, you work with data. Is it still a big buzzword people throw? Yeah, I'm actually cringe at that. Yeah, it makes us cringe a lot. So an example I have for you guys that was wild is I had a company that was data hoarding an insane amount of server logs. Okay, so in some cases, server logs are useful, but you have to be quite particular about the server logs you want to keep. But they had heard an advert. This is the things that happen in companies, real life companies. They had heard an advert that told them, listen, if you actually take all of this data you are collecting, hey, Barry, if actually take all of this massive data you are collecting, you can absolutely feed that data to a machine learning model, and you are going to find super duper deep information in that data. It was a complete fallacy. I mean, that was crap data. It wasn't going to tell them anything. It was going to tell them these server logs. That's it. And it was gigs and gigs of data that was kept. There was no diamonds in there. No worries, Barry. I'm glad you made it back home from Cape Town. So there is this thing around big data as a big misnomer. Okay, big data doesn't mean good data. Big data means lots of it. And those of you that did PDDA, if you feed that model a lot of crap, what's going to come out of it? Just crap. So
crap. Yes, more crap.
So Oh crap. So if you feed, what are we going to do? Can you guys think of a model you want to train on server logs? I mean, there wasn't even questions about the server logs. They were just told to collect all of this data and this would be valuable. So they didn't even have a question. They didn't have an idea, oh, actually, I want to predict outages, or actually, I want to predict just this mass collection of server log data. Okay, so you need skilled humans. When you get data, you need the right data, and less can be more. And you need people who can ask the right questions and extract meaningful metrics out of that data, or you're wasting your time. And the difficult part is, even if you get these two right, what? Sorry, and oh, did I just say that out loud? Also, sorry for swearing. I have a new laptop and the keyboard is different and the mouse pad is different. So even if you get the tooling right and you don't spend too much money and you don't do stupid tooling, even if you get that right, you get a cracker data team who can call the right metrics. This is the most difficult part. You have to get people to act on that organization, and that's to act on that evidence, and rather just gut feelings or tenure. And tenure is where the manager says we're going to do this and then we just do it. So to get an organization to that place is very, very, that's the difficult part. The tooling and the abilities is easy. The shifting that culture is incredibly difficult. Okay. All right. And if we have data, we need data that is in the correct way. So this will be news for no one in this this space. It won't be like deep news for anybody. But there's also some things that I want to talk about here about accessible, accurate, coherent, complete, consistent, defined, relevant, reliable, and timely. What needs to be here as well is queryable and joinable. So we all know that the data should be accessible, that analysts can get to it. That's very, very simple. The data should be accurate, but accurate data is incredibly hard to do. And then coherent, like, can it be joined meaningfully? So do you guys have, can you think of any examples while I do this with this bloody mouse over and over again? Can you think of, please don't judge. Can you think of any examples? Barry, I just showed everybody on the screen your credentials. Can you think of any examples where data sets had to be joined or data needed to be joinable to be meaningful? Can you guys think about anything in the news, in life, anywhere where we needed to join data together to make meaningful decisions or make a meaningful prediction or anything like that? I don't know what's currently open in my browser, so I'm very gonna maybe hesitantly, because I was at a research site today, just restart Chrome. Okay.
What about insurance and where people live to make determinations in terms of risk premiums and profiles?
Yes. Customer preferences. Yes. Barry, talk us through Discovery. What data does Discovery use about you? And what does it do for you?
Yeah, so I suppose Discovery knows too much about me, but based on my profile, I do get quite a few benefits from Discovery. So I do get a lot of cashback or Discovery miles or whatever the case is. So yes, it is a very gamified experience that they have done, and I'm trying to exploit it to the nth degree. But yes, it does give me.
Yeah, is the lag on my side?
It could be on my
Same
side.
here. Same here.
Okay, so Barry, you have some wobbles happening there. Oh yeah, there it just popped up. You have low signal. Are you still there? When Barry gets back, Discovery aggregates how you drive, with how much you walk, with what medication you buy. They join many data points about you to make decisions about you, about how many discovery points you get. So the thing they do in the end is to keep you as a loyal customer, but to also keep you healthy, driving, all of the things. So yeah, I know it's deeply invasive, but you know, we all like the discovery points. But that's an example of where they join a lot of data together. I want to show you guys one where they should have joined the data together. Okay, this is not the right place to be, Serena. I'm fine, I swear. So one thing that I want to look at is when, and now I can't remember the game engine's name, Unity. Sale, stock market disaster. So do you guys know, so this is from, it's happened again in 2026.
Uh-oh.
We have to go look at why Unity stock is plunging. So this is the second time. That's not good. We'll look at this one next. Okay, so wasn't a sale, it was a merger. Okay, now I'm not looking for the 2026, I'm looking for the earlier one. Okay, so what happened is Unity, it's a game engine that developers use, it's C# based, okay? So Unity decided to merge with a different company that actually did like payment gateways, and they were going to do all sorts of weird things. And what Unity didn't do, and there was actually, I'll find the Reddit thread for you guys. What they didn't do is they didn't survey their customer base decently. So there was Reddit threads upon Reddit threads upon Reddit threads that was saying, why would Unity do this? Like they're very serious Unity developers writing down there. Yeah, I think it was, I can't remember. If I can find it, because I can't remember. It was Iron Source. Okay. So in 2022, Unity said they were going to, and it was a whole botched cultural misalignment of notes. So in 2020, at 2 minutes, Unity decided, no, they are going to go and they're going to merge with this Iron Source company that does the billing. So they were going to, at the end, I think, bill for runtime. What they didn't do is they didn't in any way join different data sets together. They made the decision just like there's the runtime fee that they started to put in. At the time that this merger was being discussed and they had to make the final decision, there was heavy Reddit threads where developers were saying, we don't even know who Iron Source is. What the hell is wrong with Unity? Like, what? Yeah, and here's another Reddit thread. Like, but what even the hell is wrong with Unity? Why are they doing this? Why would we do this? And Unity did not pick up on this data at all. So you don't just use like one set of data. You have to use really a mix of data. So a good thing that Unity should have done is they should have joined the Reddit data with their current data, and they would have actually, I think, made a much different decision, but they didn't. And back then, their stock price tanked significantly like it just did now. Okay. So it's important that you can join data. And what I'm trying to say about that is on the side here, it says like quality isn't a single score. If any one of these things is wrong in the data, it doesn't make your data unusable, but it will make the data set misleading. So if it is accessible, accurate, coherent, complete, but not timely, you're making decisions for the past. If it's relevant and reliable and timely, but the fields are ambiguous, it's not going to help you. You have to have all of this in place to have data to actually drive decisions. You can't really drop the ball on any one of these things. And then finally, the data needs to be shareable. So there needs to be a culture of sharing data in an organization. So how hard do you guys think it is organizationally to share data? No worries. And Barry, I was just telling them that we use an example where Discovery joins data about your driving, your grocery shopping, your health, how much you walk, all of this to drive behavioral change, but they do aggregate a lot of data together to make decision points about a person. Okay. All right. And then we were just talking about these are the 9 facets of quality data that you need to have. None of this says a lot. Do you see that? Not one of these things said you should have a mass amount of data. Okay, there is in your textbook a nice examples of things where things were not consistent or they were not defined well, or things like this. And a really important one is relevance. Like, is it even relevant to the analysis? So what I always find interesting is if we work with the diabetes data set, they have throughout the entire data set, they have skin thickness. And that's actually around the skin of women's necks who are insulin resistant. It's really not relevant to 2/3 of that data set. If you don't drive, it's less exposure to accidents so that they don't pay. Ephraim, you're very dark there with Discovery. Okay. All right. And then this, if you are a data science student, this is something you'll know that, and we've spoken about this before, that you spend 80% of the time of cleaning the data. However, different sets of data introduces different errors. So data can be generated or data can be entered. So the hardware sensors there, and I deal with sensors a lot in my work, is where we generate data. And that data can very easily become dirty. We have sensor drift and failures. And if a sensor starts acting up differently, it broadcasts nonsense. And then wetware, which is humans, that's where we're looking at data captures. And the data capture can be incredibly messy. We have transposition errors, insertion errors, deletion errors, but I want to know from you guys if you know what a transcription error is. Do you know what a transcription error in data is? Have you ever heard about it?
The only thing that comes to mind is like someone sitting there manually copying over, or someone that sits at the traffic department or something and manually copies over a form that you've completed. And then messes up your ID number or messes up your name or something. That's what I think about when it's transcription error.
Yeah, 100%. It's when they don't order the original data. But where transcription errors also can come in quite deeply is where they also alter the meaning of things. So that happens more when we look at more qualitative data. So if you were doing a sentiment analysis and the meaning of the sentiment, because of a transcription error, the entire meaning of the sentiment changes. So that's errors that happen a lot. Okay, and then there's unit inconsistency. And there's many examples of unit inconsistency where things have gone horribly wrong. There's where they've given chemo patients 7 times the amount of chemo and literally fried them because they were they got confused between milliliters and like the pounds in liquid UK thingy. They got confused between
ounces, fluid ounces.
Fluid ounces. Unit inconsistency because of the Mars orbital loss, like they were centimeters and millimeters, a whole disaster, and a whole building that collapsed because the calculations was done on the wrong things. But there's also you can see hidden errors like this. Yeah, man, I'm going to sort myself out. So if you look at this chart here, you see a whole gap of missing data here, right? Is missing data always missing data? Or is missing data part of the story? Is that possible that missing data can be part of the story?
Yes.
Okay, this data here, can you guys give me an example of where missing data is part of the story?
Well, we've got one for Emirates, don't we?
Remind me, Barry.
For your KITSA reports in terms of students getting zeros.
Oh, yeah. So that we were looking at, like, yeah, missing data is part of the story. They just didn't show up. They didn't even, those zeros were not nulls. They were very much saying, I didn't even rock up for the test. And then if you do a workshop for the test, how are you going to fix it if they're not coming? It's not going, you have to get them to sit the test. You don't have to do a workshop for the test. The chart you are looking at there is bridge data, and the C column you're seeing there is COVID. Nobody was crossing the bridge. It's part of the story. But we have to deal with missing information, and it's difficult to know when we deal with missing information or not. So if we look at it that in the instance that it's not part of the story, then there's ways to prevent missing information, and there's ways that's super frustrating. How do you guys feel about form validation? How do you, as a user, how do you feel about form validation?
When it's done incorrectly, it is very frustrating.
It's super duper frustrating. As a data science student, so Riku and Marufa, if you had a data set where you had to do mean imputation, how did you feel about form validation? Did you want to hug that freaking format? So stuff like that. How do you feel about form validation then? So there's 2 ways to look at form validation. Hey, Marufa's typing. We're waiting for Marufa's typing. Yes, to Barry's point, form validation can be super, super duper. It's important, but it's a pain. Yeah, it can be. And we should apply form validation I wanted to puke. When you have to do mean imputation. So we want to apply validation lightly. You don't want to, because if you make the rules too stringent, people are just going to find ways around the rules. But and again, I'm sorry, guys, I can never mention companies because I'll get into so much trouble. But I can just say it is the company that did the repair, the mechanics company that did the repairs. So when we actually got a hold of their databases, everything was free text, meaning that there was capital letters, small letters. It was just, I haven't seen anything like that. At the end, we had to be like, actually, this is a dump. We can't even use this data. We can't transform this data. It is a dump. So that is one company where form validation would have really absolutely have been a wonderful value, because they couldn't look up a single thing, because something like carburetor was spelled in 9 different ways. So they couldn't use that data. So then validation is important, but validation is an important way to stop people from entering data incorrectly. But validation validation alone is not enough, because sometimes data goes wrong for different reasons. So do you guys know what data provenance is?
It's the etymology of the data, like where it originates from.
Exactly. Where did it come from? So data provenance is, as a person that has a data department, oversees a data department, works in a data department, it is important to know where the data comes from and how it has changed. Because that shield that we have there is like level 1 of protecting your data. Entering a correct password or correct email address or a correct form validation is one thing. But even data that was entered in 100% correctly that originates from the wrong source is going to be a real problem. Or data that originates from the right source and it was completely correctly entered has changed over time. So that brings it back to that domain knowledge that we were talking about, that you cannot have data scientists, even though in the previous lecture I said it's important to have a central data science department. They never ever can work by themselves. Your data department is separate but integrated. They can't ever look at data by themselves. It's a shared responsibility. And part of a data-driven culture is to have that thing like the company is its data. And that you need to, if you have an analysis team or a data scientist team, they need to work, if it's marketing data, there needs to be a marketing person working on the project and the team. If it's server data, you need the IT guy. If it's whatever data you have to have that team, because you will not understand the provenance of that data. Where, again, back to that stupid example with my little zeros that I showed you guys, if I wasn't someone that I taught for many years, those zeros would mean nothing for me. Or to me, it was just because I had lectured for many years and I happened to do data science that I could see it. But if I couldn't, I would have called someone who lectures and be like, what is this? Okay, so it is the shared responsibility. So in the organizations that you work, how often do people talk to you about data? How often do people come to you and go like, can you please look at this data for me and tell me if it's still correct? Almost never. Okay. How often do you talk to people about data?
All the time.
All the time. Do they listen to you, Michael? What do you say to them?
Well, my bosses do.
Okay,
My bosses
all the
do.
time.
Yeah.
And what do your bosses say about data?
They just listen and they nod and they say, "Okay, cool," something like that. The data guy's talking. Just listen.
Just listen. Do they ever take action on what the data guy says? Formulate a plan?
They do.
Anything?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
They do.
That's lovely. Okay. And does your data team pull in domain experts?
I am the data team, and yes, they do.
Okay, good. Then I'm proud of you, data team. Okay, for pulling in domain experts. But yeah, you absolutely have to. All right. Have you guys ever seen these? So if the data is missing, so remember that data can be missing and it should be missing. Data can be missing because we stuffed up. Data can be not missing and still messed up. But what if the data is missing and a problem? These are the ways we can classify the missing data. So you guys didn't do that when you were data science students, those are the ones of you that were. And this isn't covered, but missing data is actually labeled. as MCAR, MAR, or MNAR. Okay, so missing completely at random, missing at random, and missing not at random. Okay, so missing completely at random, that's system errors, weird stuff. Okay, annoying but manageable. So what you will be is missing completely at random is a sensor stopped. Okay, I can see I have sensor data coming from hydroponic tents out of several countries, and I can see this one sensor had just gone and died, and it's just nuns all the way through. That's missing completely at random. Okay, random thing randomly happened, stupid annoying, but I know I can aggregate that data. I can mean impute, which means I can go and I can take the values that is there, work out their mean, and replace the nulls with the mean. That's completely acceptable practice. Missing at random, that's a specific failure. So it's missing based on observed data. So analysis can be adjusted then. You can be like, okay, I have lost, I can't min impute, I have lost this much data for this feature. I'm going to have to adjust my analysis. But the one that is difficult is the missing not at random, and that's the one that people miss. Okay, the value itself causes the missingness. That missingness is telling you something. A, it will create positive bias, absolutely, in sentiment analysis. If you guys think back, if you look at rating data, I did have a okay, good. If you're looking at when people rate things, what do people do when you give them a star rating between is 1 star and 5 stars? What do they do?
Oh, why didn't I get 5 stars?
Why didn't I get 5 stars? Okay, and if you are the one rating between 0 and 5 stars, what are you more likely to do?
Generally gravitate towards the middle, isn't it?
Yeah, give a 3. And what does a 3 mean?
Basically nothing, yeah.
Yes. I'm going to look at the picture that Darius put your face. It says, yes, I love responding to surveys. Now I toss them in the bin. Okay. All right. And then, yes, I love responding. We've received 500 responses and found that people love responding to surveys. Okay. Another thing that happens with rating stuff. So if we go and look, so there's like, I'm going to get this mouse right. Okay. So there is Kaggle data sets, like if we go the Amazon reviews Kaggle data set. Okay, if we look at this guy, I don't know if any of you used it over time, but if we the one problem with the Amazon review Kaggle data set, and I'm just going to download it and show it to you. Oh, there's hotel Wi-Fi. We will come back when we have downloaded the Amazon review, so I can verify if what I'm saying is correct, is that people don't give negative ratings. Okay, that data set is so imbalanced that there is more. So people do 3, 4, and 5s, but you can actually treat it 3 as a 2. People do 3s, 4s, and 5s, but people very rarely give enough negative ratings. Okay, and it's not because the product doesn't suck. It's because people just don't give negative ratings, and unhappy customers don't complete surveys, and then you have positive bias and you don't. So it's missing not at random, and then that missing data is actually screaming at you. Don't mean impute it. It's screaming at you. Okay. All right. So the next thing that we have to look at is scalability. And we all know that we can't. There's examples of, Barry, do you remember who was our finance director who was also Jewish?
Finance director at Emirates, or was the college back in the day?
Yeah,
are you talking about Errol?
Jewish. Errol. Okay, so I was newly hired. Well, not newly hired, newly promoted. And I had a not so great laptop. Okay, and I've been working with data for a long time. So I walked into being introduced by this man, and my eyes were like morph to people's machines. It's just how I am. And I was like, holy crap, this guy's running a monster. How am I, a computer scientist, clacking away at an HP 450, and this dude is running a monster? Why did Errol have a monster? Because you were working for us already back. You were there. Why did Errol have a monster?
You should have seen these Excel documents. My
Excel
gosh.
spreadsheets. So
Wow,
basically,
just next level, just
Next
insane.
level.
Like no matter what was thrown at it, hardware-wise, it would just consume it. It was just epic.
yeah, so Errol had the world's most fire laptop, to run his Excel spreadsheets. I'm still choking on that. And that's an example of this. But the example that's coming is actually from Warby Parker. It's not specific to us, but that, like massive Excel files is, and a lot of people are still on Excel, but that talks just about data access and scalability. Also, it's like, it's not joinable, it's not shareable, it's not queryable. So data needs to be accessible and scalable. So we have to build scalable solutions. So SQL databases, NoSQL databases, instant queries, analysis feeds, trends, insights, and presentations is where we want to go in our tooling. So not only are we looking at accurate, clean, shareable, joinable, all of this, we also have to make sure that whatever we build is scalable. And do you guys think scalable is easy?
No.
No,
Sometimes.
Michael, if you had to go to your boss right now and you had to go to him, so listen, we're building this data infrastructure, we're building pipelines, we're going to sort this now, we're going to build for the future, and it's going to cost you around 6 million. What's your boss going to say?
Lol, is it? Yeah, lol, basically.
Yeah, lol.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If you go to Salim, if you go to Mr. Jackson and you're like, Mr. Jackson, I need you to rent me a nice little SQL database there in the cloud, and I need to make it premiumly available, and it's going to cost you $700 a month or $700 a week. What's Salim going to say? Salim's going to say no. So, or Salim's going to say EBIT. They're going to say no, we're not going to do this. So as much as we say we want scalable and companies say they want scalable, they very rarely want to pay for scalable. Okay, so when we talk about scalable solutions, we're not talking about implementing a solution that will survive time. Okay, so that doesn't mean we go and buy the biggest, baddest data storage solution we can get so we can grow into it over time. Company's not going to pay that money. It is very far off like benefits. It's the gamble is too big. When we talk about scalable, is that we have to be able to adjust that solution as we grow, adjust the payments of it as we grow. So with scalable, you have to also sell this carefully, and you have to choose a solution that can scale up and scale out. So you're not going to go and say, I need the 6 million thing, but you have to look for a product that grows easily and scales out and scales up easily. Have you guys ever had a product that you really love die? So have you ever had where you got the hope, you were like, yes, this is the data solution I want to implement, and then 2 years later it was pulled? This has never happened? You've never seen software deprecate and just disappear?
I think I'm a little bit too new for that.
Yeah. So if you guys, this is you and your typing. I'm going to give away my age now. Do you guys know what this is? How did you spell it?
Yeah, it is like that. That's essentially what's evolved to Dynamics AX and then to Dynamics 365.
Yeah. So, like when you think about things, and when we were talking to our bosses back in my days, and then Barry and I around about the same size, we were all talking about Great Plains. Great Plains is no longer even there. It's morphed into another product. Scalability is a very difficult conversation, but it's also a continuity and a continuous conversation. It's not a once-off conversation. It's not a once-off purchase. It's quite difficult to get scalability right. Okay. All right. So now that we've spoken about the following, so we have said that we absolutely need data, we need tools, we need good people, and we have to have a culture. And that data has to be of good quality, and that you actually can't cherry pick your quality. Dropping any one of these will not break that data. It will still build you models, it will still make predictions, it will still write reports, but your reports can be misleading. That we have to really carefully clean our data, but when we clean our data, it's not just about cleaning data. There's lots of ways that data goes wrong, but sometimes missing values tell us stories. So when we clean data, we also have to clean data going like, what does this 0 mean? What does this none mean? We don't just go boom, mean, impute. Okay. And then you should classify your missing data and then how to deal with that missing data. And then for data to be accessible, it needs to be squareable, scalable, for it to be joinable, shareable, queryable. All of these quality things we want, we're also looking for scalability to put in there. So if we now look at, we have our data, we are now here. We have our data, our abilities, our tools, and our culture. We now have data and we finally have reports. Okay. So the problem with reports, what do you guys think is the problem, the difference between the problem between reporting and analysis? It was a blaze or something. Yeah, lots of old stuff. What if you had to classify, what does reporting tell us and what does analysis tell us? If you guys have to think, it was on the slide. I'm doof. What does reporting tell us? And what does analysis tell us?
Reporting is historic and analysis is forward-looking.
Yes. And reporting is what happened. Reporting tells us we actually had a 5.2 month-on-month growth in bookings. Phenomenal. We are doing very, very well. That's reporting. But there's no causality and there's no solution. Okay. So what if this was not South Africa and you're entering the summer for ice cream sales? That's quite a normal trend. It's going to go back down. Is it good? What if it's seasonal? Okay. Or what if that growth cost you so much money that it wasn't actually worth it? And then also, what if that is just a plain reporting error? So reporting gives you a static snapshot, like a slice. You can look at it like it gives you a static thing that you can look at, but it doesn't give you the stuff all around the thing. So for the companies you work at, how many companies, how do they really value your reports? Is reporting valued? How much reporting do you guys do? How many reports do you write?
For me?
Yeah, you?
Oh my gosh. Depends on the situation, but yeah, there's a few reports that are written, but yeah, it depends on what though. I mean, it's on a whole lot of different things.
Okay, and what happens with those reports after they're written?
Not much, actually.
No. Do they go to the report heaven and live there?
Yeah, pretty much. It's like largely used for KPA purposes. So, like, are you actually doing your job?
Yeah.
So
you're
reports are a
writing.
good measurement. Are you actually doing your job? It is not really for longer term evaluation purposes or strategic planning.
No. Yep, that's what normally happens. Michael, do you do reporting?
No, not really. Usually if I notice something that's going to be a problem, then I'll make a song and dance about it, but no.
No. Marifa, do you write reports? Ephraim, I know you write reports because I write them.
I write
Yeah.
reports for a living, I think, because I'm actually in a lot of diagnostics, like revenue issue diagnostic, debt collection diagnostic. So we always have to diagnose what is happening. Then we give a report, and then we give sort of corrective actions or what we think should happen. Yeah, so I do that a lot.
A lot. And then can you tell me, is there traceable actions based on your reporting? Can you go like, and that would be super impressive. Like, can you go like, I have written this report and it has resulted in this report was then analyzed and this analysis resulted in an action that the institution or the organization took?
Yeah, actually that is it is a requisite for my job that we, of course, you have diagnosed that this is the issue and you have made these recommendations. We are allowing you to implement your own recommendation, and we want to see at the end of the month if whatever you had recommended has resulted in either, if we're talking debt book, has it reduced the debt book or has it increased revenue collection, for example?
Okay. Then you guys are on the right track. Yep, Michael, someone was talking. I'm going to shut up. Someone else talk.
It was me. I just felt that like I often feel like sometimes reporting takes too long, and like a boss will get a report and be like, okay, cool story. And then, as you said, it goes to report heaven, and then nothing actually ends up happening. And then at the end of the line, it's like, there's a massive crisis, and it's like, yes, but I told you. And they were like, yes, but, make up some excuse. So, yeah, that's what I feel happens quite often.
Yeah, so in most organizations, Marifa, I'm super impressed, hey? In most organizations, reports are just that. It's just a static report that's written. It's looked at, it's forgotten. Then reporting is not analysis. But Marifa, what you guys are doing is reporting analysis, and you're actually doing the whole value chain that we'll talk about. So on the notes of reporting, so we write reports, okay? So you write your reports and you submit. And I used to write an inordinate amount of reports, and you submit the report, okay? What about the next thing? So we can report. What about alerting? Do you guys have alerts that go off at work?
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of different types of reports,
Yes.
or alerts at least.
Okay, what kind of alerts? Tell us all about your alerts, Barry.
Well, let's take, for example, on the security side of things. So we've got a team that analyzes logs and looks for anomalous activities, and it would alert if there's anything that looks quite suspicious. Similar to what you had on your slide there in terms of hardware monitoring, we've got operations manager running throughout the organization and looking at statistics of hardware in terms of databases, in terms of queue depth and run rates and things like that. So we look at thresholds, so understanding where we are approaching our limitations, so we're not there yet. So this one, yeah, we've got 98% CPU utilization. That is already too far. So we would probably have alerts coming in at maybe about 50 or 60%, because I mean it's already kind of hitting some higher values. And is there a reason for that? Is there some sort of intervention that needs to take place? Maybe some queries need to be optimized, or maybe it's just a volume, a cyclical volume thing at the time, or maybe there's just a overall increase in volume, and maybe we do actually need to increase the amount of CPU, or the amount of compute, in order to handle the new level of volume.
Yeah, 100%. Do you guys have examples either? There's a few that have alerts. Are your alerts filtered? Like, do you get important alerts? Do any of you have alert overloads where you don't even really look anymore if your phone dings? Or do you have, so the example of the alert here is actually where it was just the backup script running, and they were alerted every time that backup script ran, and that backup script for a fraction of a second used to push the CPU ran over. Do you have alerts in your companies that are just too many? Do you have like where you get alert fatigue? And does the alerts, do they ever give you a why? I couldn't even think about. So I know the kind of alerts that I ignore is when, like, if I have a shared lecture, I'm in a shared lecture space on ARC. So I get alerted every time somebody uploads something. So I don't even look at those anymore. They're pointless to me. I mean, why? Why do I get these alerts? It's like, what the hell? On the flip side, I should probably know it's being uploaded there, because I'm the person responsible for the course. But for me, getting alerts every time somebody uploads a slide is a stupid alert. It's a useless alert. It doesn't matter. It's a nice feature, and that is just noise. But that being said, alerts are super important. Okay. So reporting and alerting and reports are super important. I'm not saying reports are bad, but reporting and alerting has a place, and they need to be used correctly. And it's very careful you have to be careful that if you are in a reporting phase of an organization, that the reports don't go to report heaven, that report has a reason, an action that's derived from it, that it goes the full cycle. And with alerting as well, if you are alerting, an alert should have a reaction. If the alert doesn't need any reaction, it's just noise. So in Barry's example is his example of a good alert. Like you need to know if you're having 98% CPU utilization, it's not a backup script, it is a real problem and you need to have an action now. That CPU is dying. We can see that we actually have 8,000 more students logging on than what we expected. Scale up right now. That's a good alert. An alert for a backup script is just going to become noise. It's a lot less these days, but for a while, people just did alerts because alerts, it's so nice. I'm going to know everything that happens. Even in Teams alerts, let's do this. How about this alerting? Is this useful?
No.
No. So there's very useful alerting and there's very, very painful alerting. And then back to Marufa's example. So reporting is information. It is taking raw data and taking it into information. It's descriptive and it's backwards looking. It's what happened. Okay. You have to take that report and analyze it or move into analysis to make that information into insight. And that's prescriptive and forward looking. Why did it happen? What should we do? So we have to transform that information we already get in reporting into the analysis phase. And then only can we work that into competitive insights. Otherwise, it just ends up in report heaven. How many times today am I going to look like a dud? All right. So this is basically the breakdown. Okay. So reporting is descriptive, analysis is prescriptive. So the focus of reporting is descriptive, the direction of reporting is backwards looking, the direction of analysis is forward looking. The function of reporting is to raise the question, like Marufa said, why did this happen? And Marufa, the fact that you guys go and write mitigating steps now and go like, this is maybe what occurred, that it takes you into analysis because that answers the question. So reporting is dashboards, alerts, and reports. Analysis is recommendations, which you guys write, and predictions. Then there is no context really to reporting. But in analysis, it's the context and the storytelling. So Marufa, when you have a case, can you give us an example where you've had to say, in my reporting, this is what happened? And how you explain that to your manager. So I found this thing, this is what happened, and that's how I'm going to, this is what we have to do about it. Do you have an example of how you translate that information to your manager?
Yeah. Okay, I'm trying to think of an easy example. Okay. I am in revenue, and part of what we do in revenue is we need to ensure as much as we can that none of the meters are estimated. And as much as we try that, there will be meters that are estimated for one reason or the other. So at the end of each month, or then from there on weekly, I will take the stats of all the meters that have been estimated for 12 months, and I will check, did we actually visit these meters from the meter reading report? And if we did visit them, what did the meter readers, what did they find in the field? For example, sometimes they find that the meter has been replaced, however, it hasn't been updated, and as a result, we cannot take that reading for what it is. So then we will isolate them that this many, we did not get an actual reading because the meters were replaced. This many is because the gates were locked and Sarina wasn't opening, and and we put them like that. And we say, okay, for those that were replaced and in the field, but however not updated on the system, we're going to send them to different departments. The electricity ones, we're going to send them to electricity, or via my director, I'll say, these are the ones that electricity need to attend to, and these are the ones that water need to attend to. And weekly, we will track if those meter replacements have happened on SAP. So then the director will escalate them as such, and weekly we are going to track if those replacements have happened and if they are reducing the estimations in the field. Yeah, I don't know. I've just said a mouthful.
You said a mouthful, but you are telling us a story. So something that I want to touch about that when we end up in analysis is you have to get, so I want to bring back to something that Michael said. Michael, you said in the past you've given your boss a report and you're like, disaster's coming. And then it happens and they're like, but why didn't we know? Right? So that happens. So yes. And that's incredibly frustrating. And I was actually, Barry was in Cape Town doing some field work, and I was explaining to him examples of stuff that I have learned. So even if we move from the reporting to analysis, when we get into that analysis stage, if we want action, if we want the next step to happen, we have to become pretty prolific storytellers. So remember in the previous lecture, we spoke about if you hire your data science team, you're actually hiring for communication. You do want good stats skills, but I mean also there's things to help with stats, but you're really hiring for communication, because if you can't communicate that analysis information in such a way that it really helps your board of directors or anybody to take that analysis into action, it's kind of a futile experience. So two examples that I can think of. In the previous lecture, we spoke about silent reading. And that's where you really have to work on your analysis and the outcome of the analysis, where you would have a A4 page with just enough information in a very digestible format, and it's very rarely written. It's very often charts and small infographics and never pie charts because they're super hard to read. That gives the information. So I was giving you guys an example last time about a case where we actually had so many fights about ice. If you guys want to know, 5% of students fail their courses because of ice, but we were having such a big fight about ice that when we actually pulled the data and we made the data available, it was a non-brainer. But what we should have done when the ice discussion came up is we should have tried that silent structured reading, SSR process, where you would have just had infographics showing percentage of students entering exam with ice, percentage of students entering exam without completing ice, percentage of students failing exam because of ice, percentage of students passing the exam barely, but because the ice mark was applied. If we had those little chunks of information and we spent 5 minutes of that meeting looking at digestible, workable information, we would have come to that decision super easy. And another example is where it was elephant tracking. So I work in weird and wonderful places, and there were lots of problems with elephants and fences. And the company would say, but we're giving the data points. We're providing the data points. We show people, here is the elephant's coordinates, here is your fence's coordinates, and the elephant is going to go into that fence. And then nothing happened. They didn't get the right decision things until they started telling the story about the elephant. And they were like, they had done, and it sounds stupid, but it's super valuable. They had done a thing where they showed the little elephant walking, and they were like, this is Nala. This is Nala walking, and this is Nala's path that she's walked. A very story. Nala's walked this path for 100 years. Nala's been walking this path. And then they bought a heat map, and they were like, here's your fences. So we're going to overlay where your fences are over Nala's historical path. And it is an emotional story because there was little Nala walking on her path. We're going to overlay these fences so that you can see where your fence is relative to where Nala walks and how she's always going to break that fence, whether you electrocute that fence, whether doesn't matter what you do. You're fighting against 100 years of elephants that remember everything. And when they told that story, instead of just showing the raw data, we could have that decision a lot easier. So a big part of a data team or building a culture around data is also to build a culture about how do we make data digestible. And that's around giving that context and storytelling. And you can only do that when you've moved from the information, the fence was broken, to why the hell do the elephants keep breaking the fence? Oh my word, it's 100-year-old elephant trick. To telling the story to people so they can digest that data. So Marufa, you did do some storytelling there because you were like, this is 0 because Serena wasn't home. You're putting that humanistic element in there that makes people want to listen to you. So what we ultimately have to take away from this, what we are looking at, is if we look at the ladder of analytics maturity in a company, we can start at standard reports, like what happened. Okay, so let's look Marufa's example. We didn't get all of these, we didn't get meter readings. Okay, ad hoc reports, how many, how often, where? Okay, query drill. It happened because people were not home, they didn't open the gates. Okay, alerts. Should we alert someone if someone is not home, or is it so frequent that that alerts will become noise? Then you're moving higher into that analysis. Why are these people not home when we go check for their meters, that we end up with these things? Is it so important? What happens if there's almost bloody never people home? What if these trends continue? Can we actually forecast that, hey, maybe 1 and 2 is a really bad time to go? Historic data tells us it shouldn't really be between 1 and 2. We can extrapolate between 3 and 4 we should go. If we go and take disjoint data and we pull people's, like, when did they watch series data, we know they're absolutely at home. What if we combine that data with what we know about meter readings? Like, what if we start joining data together to draw a better picture? Then what will happen next? What will happen if we actually have these people at home? And then optimization is what's the best and worst that can happen. So this is where, and at this optimization stage is where massive companies are sitting.
Can I just interrupt? When you talk about the going to people's homes and things, it's like the typical courier delivery. Oh yes, well, we'll be at your house between like 10 and 2. Okay, well, that's great, but no one's at home and I'm at work, so like, hello kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. And then you wonder why nobody has gone, like, because then what happens is the courier company drives your parcel home, right? Like, they drive your parcel back to the depot. Yes. You are mad.
Yes.
They have spent more petrol.
Yes.
Why? Yes. And then if they were really looking at their stuff, they would be like, oh, nobody's bloody home. All right. They're not home often. This creates a problem. It costs more petrol. What if we look at different delivery? What if we just spend R1 on a phone call to say, hey, are you home? Instead of 400 Rand on petrol. So that's the kind of stuff that we have to, and that's where you stop. Ah, Nia, I'm so sorry. This is the point where we hit optimization, competitive advantage. The more we start thinking that we use this data, that we do aggregate. And remember at the beginning, the very first slide I had there was every organization should collect data. And I just prefaced that just don't collect crap, but every organization should collect data. And something as simple as when are people home for meter readings, when are people home for deliveries, can have huge impacts on how a company runs. And then this is just the last thing that we're going to look at, the hallmarks of data-driven organizations. And we're going to take Michael's delivery thing as an example. Do you guys know what A/B testing is? Do any of you know what A/B testing is? I'm going to stop doing that, Barry. I'm sorry. You can Google it. Do you know what a randomized controlled trial is? They do that when they do. Okay, so ABC testing comes out of the medical world, but it's all over UI, UX, all of this stuff. And it's basically a randomized, it's the same as a randomized controlled trial. So the best example of a randomized controlled trial is we give half people cancer meds, other half of the people not cancer meds, and we see if the cancer meds is working. So A/B testing is where we then go and we say, okay, let's A/B test this. So let's go to that example of, let's do this. Let's take half of the deliveries for today, okay? And we don't do that courtesy call, which is just a crappy example I thought about. Let's take half of the deliveries and we do the courtesy call. And let's go back and see the effect on fuel usage and customer satisfaction for both groups. And then we can make a really informed decision on whether that phone call actually works, or whether checking on Marufa, let's try a different matter of checking if people are home. Let's find a way, because there's many ways, except for a phone call, there's many ways that you can find out if people are home. And you guys sound like, is the washing machine currently running? Is that electricity meter spiking because is someone currently home? And then check that A/B testing. So when you have come to all of this and you come to your point where you've reached going to change something, then you have to test it. You have to A/B test it. And then after this, you have to do continuous improvement. Okay. So I had a team lead who used to always tell me, scrutinize your own processes over and over again. So if you've put something in place, scrutinize it frequently to make sure that it cannot be better and it cannot be faster and it cannot be more efficient, and that you didn't make weak assumptions. Okay, and then the last thing is weighted decision making. So it's moving beyond that gut feeling and looking at a variety of things. So an example of a weighted decision making that recent that I can think of is that the Durban North campus for Emirates is moving. Okay, in 7 years, I think. I don't know the timelines exactly, but they have purchased a piece of land to go build a mega campus. But there were so many things to consider and to weigh up for that, because it will be away from an historic campus that people are it was one of, like, it originated in Durban, back Varsity College back then. It actually started in Walnut Road, but then it actually moved between Durban North and Westville. So these are pivotal campuses to the history of the organization. They carry a lot of meetings. What does that weigh in our decision? The next thing is students might have to drive further. So what do we know about students' driving behaviors, how they feel about things? We do know for a fact that they hate parking by the campus because there is no parking. We'll have additional parking there. But what are the thoughts about students' driving behaviors, and what do we know how that is going to impact our decision? What do we know about students needing residence? How many students actually live currently around the campus in informal digs? And how many could be moved into formal student residence? And then you weigh those things up to make the decision to move. And in this case, the decision to move was actually that we're running out of space. There was one infinite thing, like, we cannot register another student, we have to move. But if it was a different move, there's many, many things you have to weigh up. I was having this discussion in my stats course last night when I was like, when you look at a data set and you're actually trying to work out a slope and an intercept to figure out the direction that data is going into, every single little data point you have has a vote, but some of them have massive votes and some of them have smaller votes. Some of them have a massive effect and some of them have smaller effects. And what we are trying to get to is, oh, Hats, what am I doing now? What we are trying to get to is this. And this is what we discussed tonight. So we want to get to this, where we can have data, work that into reports. Reports and alerts and dashboards absolutely have a place, but we don't stop here. Okay, we analyze that reports, we pull out empirical insights, we do digital data storytelling, small reading. You get the culture of reading and interpreting that data to take an action that will result in value. And that's what's meant by a data-driven culture, is that the data that you report on needs to be analyzed, explained in such a way, or visualized or transferred. What's the word I'm looking for? But given to other people is the word I'm looking for, in such a way that it actually can have meaningful action that takes us to value. And this thing that you're looking here is basically just the analysis value chain. Okay. Then this is the tree in the forest paradox. If an analyst produces a brilliant insight, but no decision maker acts on it, it has no value. Okay, technology enables analysis, but culture dictates action. And the decision thing is something that became very interesting for me in my career, because I would bring good data, but I couldn't get the decision. I would storytell, I couldn't get the decision. And then I realized the problem was that I needed to look at how people make decisions and how the way I'm presenting my data impacts the way they make decisions. So a bit of a psychology detour. But in the next 15 or so minutes, we're going to look at 3 decision archetypes and how that will greatly impact your culture that you're trying to build. So the path forward is start with trust. So if you have good collection, quality, provenance, treat data as a raw ingredient, if you can move beyond reporting and drive action, you will get there, and better data will always beat better models. But we have to also sway a decision. That's why we have to be storytellers. So I'm wondering if I can give you guys 5 minutes. If you want, do you want 5 minutes to go get a cup of coffee, a glass of water? Yeah, it does always boil down to this is going to cost X, Michael, unfortunately. There's no such thing as a free ride, eh? So do you guys want to take, let's say, be back here at, I'll try my best to not drive you all the way to 9 o'clock, but let's be back here at 8:15. So I want to give you 5 minutes to just clear your heads, run to the bathroom, grab a cup of coffee. It's 8 o'clock at night. I can't, but you can sit there for a bigger glass of wine. And then we're going to talk about decision making. So I'm going to mute myself and give you guys 5 minutes, stretch your legs, walk around, and then we're going to delve into decisions. Is that okay? Can you show me an emoji? What is that reaction if you're happy with that? Thank you, Ephraim, and only Ephraim. Okay, thank you, Marifa. Okay, so take a short 5-minute break. Okay, do you guys feel more alive and less like you're going to die in front of your screen?
Yes.
Okay, let's look at some decision-making theory. I'm muted, aren't I? Okay. I give up. Let's look at some decision-making theory. Let me find that slide. What do I have open here? This is bad. No, this is good. So let's go looking at some decision-making theory. And then I think we'll see how you guys look, because I'm sure everybody is tired. Okay, so what I was saying in the previous thing is you can't just look at the data. You also have to look at a way. So if you're going to build a culture on data-driven decision-making, how decisions are made is actually super duper important, because you can bring all the right information. You can do all of the right formatting, but if you don't understand how people make decisions, then it's going to be very difficult for you to push that thing over into a decision-making trend. So this is based, you'll see the reading that I gave you guys. I've actually PDF'd it for you and will upload it for you tonight. This is based on work done by the Open University, and it's a for free Open University course that I came across when I had to look into decision making. Okay. So there are 3 ways that people think about decisions, and none of this is deep psych. If you're a deep psychology person, this is just the basics. Okay. I do not have deep psych. I studied computer science. Okay. But this has implications for how you structure your arguments, how you position your data, how you show and visualize your data, is to realize that actually we are not classified into any one of these. We are all of them. But thinkers or decisions are put in ways of the naive economist, the naive psychologist, and the naive politician. Okay, so what are they? The naive economist is like data is everything. It possesses maximum utility. So how do I make a decision for the best outcomes? And it assumes we have ordered preferences and outcomes. We are people that are very rational, and we super duper have rational responses to things. We look at a chart and we go like, oh, the stock price is going up today. I shall sell. Very, very simple like that. Then there's the naive psychologist who is looking at, actually, it's a lot more than, there's lots more meaning behind that chart for me, and I need to think about this, and actually my reality is like, actually that chart's just too much information for me to read, and I have to find a shortcut in my mind to work with this chart. So that's naive economist. And the naive politician is like, holy crap, what does everybody else think about this chart? Okay, it doesn't matter what I think about this chart. I'm sitting in a meeting room. There's a chart on the screen. I'm not going to say what I think until everybody in the room says what they think. Okay, and specifically my boss. So to understand a decision, you have to figure out, all 3 of these are always present, but you have to figure out which one is driving the bus. Okay, so if we're looking at the ideal or the rational, if we're looking at the naive economist, okay, they say people are rational thinkers, that it's super successful in economic life, saying this rational decision making. Okay, but individuals don't behave in this way. We don't define the problem, weigh the criteria, compute the ultimate choice. We don't see the curve and we make a decision. We have that, and we do have that in us. But the economic man is very unlike the real man. Okay, the models of markets and people, we don't make these, even though, and this is at length, I don't get this. I don't understand why people don't make these rational decisions. Even I don't make rational decisions myself. Why are we not defining the problem, weighing the criteria, and making the optimal choice? Okay, so that's, if we say, okay, that's the economic perspective. However, there's some other things in play here. So if we go look at that naive psychologist, then actually the way we think, there's a lot of things that we have to think about. The first thing is the constraints. We don't have infinite time or brain power. Have any guys of you heard about Kahneman? A psychologist called Kahneman?
Yes.
What does Kahneman, what is Kahneman, he's famous for a lot of things, but what about thinking did Kahneman say?
Oh, jeepers, that takes me way back.
Do you need a hug?
UCT first year, that's a long time ago.
Kahneman spoke about thinking fast and thinking slow. Okay, so Kahneman spoke about there are instances where we make fast judgment-based decisions known as heuristics. So those are the rules to cope with this. Those are mental shortcuts, the rules of thumbs, stuff like that. Okay, that's
I can give a
heuristics.
good example of that if you want.
Yes, please give a good example.
So a cricket batter and a ball combined cost 110 Rand. The cricket bat is 100 Rand more than the ball. How much is the ball?
10 Rand?
See, you did it.
But so now you have to unpack this for us, because now, you know.
Okay, so if the ball is 10 Rand and the cricket bat is 110 Rand, that means that the combined value is 120, not 110.
Okay. See, that's a heuristic. Okay,
Absolutely. So
they're
the cost of the ball is actually 5 Rand.
Excellent example, Barry. It's an excellent example of heuristics. And in a day, we actually have so much thrown at us that we can't be that rational person, because if we had to weigh out any decision, Kahneman says we'll just end up in paralysis. Okay, so we actually look at satisficing versus optimizing. We don't find the best solution. We don't optimize. We find the solution that has the minimum criteria for our shortcuts. We apply this mental shortcuts called heuristics, and we'll look at them in a minute, all the time. So the example that they give, if it moves saluted, if it doesn't paint it white, is from the British Army, where they like indoctrinated people to be like, if it is a person you saluted out of respect, if it's a thing that's standing there, it needs to be made beautiful. It's a rule of thumb. Just think about it. That you don't even think about it, you just do it. Indoctrination. And we all have these heuristics. So on top of the heuristics, and we will go through heuristics, there is another thing. Oh, other heuristics is we put brands in with quality. We go like Woolworths is fantastic quality. How many of you guys buy Woolies cold meat? Look, I love myself some Woolworths, okay? But how many of you buy cold meat from Woolworths? Yes. How many of you buy Escort? Yes. Do you remember when they had the meme was like the Polony is killing us? Marufa, your hands up? Oh, Marufa buys
I wanted to say I buy Escort too.
Was that the listeriosis?
The listeriosis, yeah.
Yeah, what came out of the listeriosis? Do you guys remember the news reports?
Yeah, that was from Tiger Brands at the time.
The Polony.
It was
in the Polony, yeah.
Yeah, and then what happened is Escort had to also pull their product, right? And then Woolies had to pull their product, because you're actually just buying Escort, like not Polony, but Escort ham from Woolworths. Then Woolworths did a news report. You guys can check it up afterwards. So we're like, no, but we have a separate production line at Escort. And then Escort had to reply and go like, there's no separate production line for Woolworths. It's all the same. I still like Woolworths ham. But that is an example of a digital shortcut. Okay. Another thing that happens to us, and we'll look at some more heuristics, but another thing that happens to us is this. So there's scenario 1, the domination of gains, and scenario 2, the domination of losses. Okay, so both of them say a rare disease affects 600 people. Option A saves 200 lives. Option B results in 400 deaths. Option B, oh, you can't see my finger. Okay, so this one saves 200 lives. This might result in 400 deaths. Also, the color was intentional. There's a third of the chance of saving everyone, and 2/3 of the chance of saving no one. Okay, and then there is this one. Results in 400 deaths. There's a third of a chance of no one dying, and a 2/3 of a chance of 600 deaths. So in this instance, if you show the information like this, most people choose A to save 200 lives, but A and B is exactly the same. Okay, and then the same one here. If we go and say could result in 400 deaths, or if there's a 1 in 3 chance of no one dying, it's the exact same thing. 200 survive, 400 die. The math is exactly the same. Okay, but we are framed for gain and we fear risk. Okay, so when we're framed for loss, we gamble to avoid it. So this is what we do. So this is tricks you have to have up your sleeve when you show your data. You have to think, if I prepare this data to have it shown, or if in my organization I'm deciding how data is shown, you have to know that this will happen. and how to frame that data so it doesn't happen. I'm not saying con your people. These are 100% like valuable statistics. But you have to lean onto the fact that people will make very interesting decisions on how you put the data forward. Okay. Here's another example where they showed a recording of cars crashing, but there was no sound. Okay, they showed a recording of a car crashing, so to students, and then they said to them, okay, if the car was going, and they used the words in the video. So look at this video of the car hitting another car, or look at the video of the car smashing into another car. These are the words they used. Then they said to the students, for the car hitting the other car, estimate the speed. They said 34 miles per hour. Was there broken glass? They said no. All right. Then they went and said, okay, where the car smashed, estimate the speed, 40.8 miles per hour. Was there broken glass? And they all said yes. There was no broken glass in the video. not a single one. It's also your memory is a construct. It's not a recording. The way we remember things is not the way that happened. Okay, so there's information biases. There's an availability heuristic. We trust what is easy to recall. Smash means broken glass. Smash means really fast. Okay. We overweight vivid or emotional memories. So if it is data about something visceral, you will have to know that people will react to it in a visceral way. And in confirmation bias, we unconsciously avoid data that contradict our views. And these are things we do continuously. Like you will look for, what is the opposite of confirmation bias is another one where you actually go and try and look for the fact that you are right. But those are things you have to think about when you decide how you are going to try to get from that analysis to action point, that these things exist. Okay. And then there's also the fact that we have egos, which brings us into judgment flaws. Okay. We get stuck on the first piece of information. We all know that first impressions last, and data later is just, we have that snap judgment. Okay. And then when things go well, it's me. When things go bad, it's not me. And we habitually believe that we have more control than we think we have. We think we can mitigate things we really can't. Here is a nice example of what also happens is the expert in the room. And this happens a lot with data. Okay, this is an old experiment, but they had a little light in the room, and then they had people come into the room and they asked them, okay, did the light move? Okay. Then they planted a person in there who came in and who's supposed to be an expert. And he said, oh yeah, it moved 5 inches. Then the naive participant, the guy was like, oh yeah, I definitely moved 5 inches. And then Barry, you have an example about this as well. Then the dude leaves and they enter another person, the expert leaves, and then it moved 5 inches remains, because now the naive participant is a veteran participant, because now he knows this thing has moved 5 inches, and he tells the next guy it's moved 5 inches. That doesn't move, but because the expert said it moved 5 inches and one dude believed it and he perpetuated it, okay, it moves 5 inches. Okay, so we adopt truths as an objective fact. And then this was an interesting thing about the pursuit. Barry, I want to know your thoughts of this, because you use stuff like this, but this is the pursuit of legitimacy. Okay, so they did a massive study and they found like lots of CEOs were implementing COVID, ITIL, total quality management, like agile, but they could show no real, and they were described as visionaries, excellent to do their work. They was like excellent work, but none of them could prove that any of those things had any benefit for the business. Okay, so there was a study of US firms adopting popular management techniques. There was no increase in performance. But because those techniques were buzzwords and all of this, the CEOs was innovative, they had their reputation improved, and their pay increased. But actually, when they went and did the real data analysis on it, it didn't result in any real like benefit for the company. Okay, and then the next one is the art of decoupling. So there are institutional pressures as well to think about. So in a company, there will be coercive, or in the world, there will be coercive rules, mimetic rules, and normative rules. Okay, so coercive rules, there are things you just can't get around. Laws, sanctions, rules, we have to do that. They will absolutely trigger your decision making. copying successful peers triggers the way we do decision making. And then there's also the professional values or moral duties. So an example about this is when they brought in official KPIs in Taiwan. And they got all of the KPIs returned, but in Taiwan it doesn't work like that. Okay, in Taiwan they were like, yeah, we absolutely make people fill in the KPIs and then we promote the best candidate. But in Taiwan, candidates are handpicked, so they actually faked the documents to show that they followed the procedures and still hand chose the candidate that needed to be chosen at the end. So what people will do is they will decouple the ceremonial actions that they believe in culturally, and they will fake the practical. And the next one is just like calculating risk and feeling risk is very, very difficult. It was very, very different. So these personalities that we're talking about is, we assume a rational person, okay? But a rational person has to make lots of decisions in a day. So actually, psychologically, that rational person cannot be that rational because they keep applying these shortcuts, and they have heaps of societal pressure as well. And societal pressure with outside the big world, but societal pressure in an organization as well. And all of these things together changes the way we address risk or how we see risk. And an example of that is that they were saying, like, roads are a lot safer today because there's a lot less car deaths, but kids are deaf on the road, but there are no kids on the road. Okay, so there was the road safety paradox from 1995, where the UK traffic increased by 25% and the child road deaths fell by half, but not because the roads are safer. Children no longer play outside. Okay, so it's an objective. It's not objective. It's a manufactured decision. It's a manufactured belief, and we redistributed. All we did is we redistributed the risk from drivers to children's freedom. And then there's also what you are, what people are, and this is the four myths of nature, and this is people's beliefs. I'm not going to pronounce these right, but there's, you believe everything is at random and very scary. You believe everything is not so scary. So everything is at random and super scary. Everything is benign and it will be okay. Things go wrong, but there's limits, and then things are fragile and the world, and it is easily destroyed. And you have these thinkers in the room. So if underlyingly you're a benign thinker, they'll go like, buy stock in a crash. But this ephemeral thinker will be like, no, don't, the whole stock market's going to crash. It's not going to work. So you also have these people in your room. So this is your toolkit with all of this stuff. With knowing that we assume rationality, we apply these mental shortcuts to make our life easier, and they are innate and not at the top of your mind. Okay, and then knowing that we face a lot of societal pressures and we really are weird with risk. We don't calculate risk. We act with risk on a humanistic level. So these are the things that you have when you have to influence decisions. Okay, flip the problem that we saw in those cards, check the risk appetite, check the info. Like when somebody makes a decision, now somebody pops up when you've given them a set of data and they go like, yeah, but this happened last time. Then you have to go like, do you think you're responding emotionally to something that's happened in the past and that it is not happening here? Okay. Challenge the anchors. Like, think about where's the things coming from and use those three lenses to spot the traps before you fall into them. Because in the end of it, everybody falls somewhere here. This thinking is going to be available in every set of data you put forward, and it's going to influence every single decision that people in your room is going to make. And you have to be aware of this. So we cannot eliminate bias. We cannot eliminate social pressure. We are all naive economists, psychologists, and politicians at the same time. So the next time you have to make there's a critical decision that has to be made, whether you need to make it or you need to inform it, you're going to check, is that data right? Do I have the right data? Right. Okay. Is that data being looked at objectively? Are you not applying your shortcuts, or you're not looking at for a visceral memory thing? And if that data is being looked at objectively, can a decision be made without massive social influence? And that is the things that I had to look at when strange decisions used to happen. I had to go back and go like, why did this not translate? So why did I not get this right? And I would be like, actually, and examples of this is the way companies love their data, and I had gone against it. I had gone and said, and they wholeheartedly believed their data. They married that data and had 5 babies with it, and then I just came in and said, no, but this is absolutely not accurate. And the reaction was very visceral. They remember that data very different to how it is. And then they made a very different decision than what was needed. I needed to have come in, and I needed to have to try to, as objectively as possible and gently as possible, introduce the changes in the data. And I needed to have played with, how do I show this data? 200 dead, 400 dead, same thing. How do I show the data? How do I make sure I don't trigger a visceral reaction in how I display the data that I need them to make a decision on? And how do I make sure that I don't display this data in a way that I can put it in such a way that people have the option to be objective, which is all very, very big asks. But you have to, in the back of your head, have that these things, even though we have the perfect analytics, we have the perfect data, there's a very human decision that needs to be made, and you need to try and formulate your story, your presentation, the data, the outcomes, the findings, everything aware of the things that influence how people make decisions. Are you guys okay? That was a mouthful. Do you have questions? Do you want to cry? Okay, so you guys are all right. Okay. So in every following learning unit, we are going to bring back in decision-making things. So we are going to look at decision-making frameworks and really tools that you can apply in a non-coercive manner, because sometimes it can sound a bit like you're messing with people's heads, but you're not. And again, just to remind you guys, the idea of this course is to teach you how to strategically help an organization move from, did I not leave the other one open because I'm a doffy? No, I did leave it open. How do we get organizations to move through this? How do we, and like I said, a lot of organizations are still very stuck here. There's this, I have data, I have heaps of data, we're collecting data, big data, big data is everything. There's diamonds in this data. Okay, a lot of organizations stop here. Like we've written a report, we've given you to report. Actually, this is a line that is very easy for me to draw with a lot of clients that I work with. Few organizations live in this space, and a data-driven decision-making culture is to take people that decisions happen like this. To say we have the data, we've taken that raw data into meaningful information. That information was analyzed. From that analysis, whether it's predictive, whatever we've done there, if we look at this guy, we have analyzed that data, we've hit in this level of maturities. Now we have to move that into an action that will result in value. Okay, and it's how to just strategically get companies there. So that has everything to do with how we present our data. It has everything to do with the tools we leverage and how we use them, how we keep that data clean, secure, and super, super ready to use. And then how we look at how people make decisions when we put data in front of them. Now I'm really going to shut up, and you guys are...
And how we tell the story.
And how we tell the story. And data storytelling is very, very important. Yeah. There be diamonds in these data hills. Yeah, because people believe that wholeheartedly. It is collect more data, and you just end up paying for storage. But yes, you have to do the storytelling for people to understand your data. Do you guys have any questions? Nothing? Michael is typing for us. So again, if you want to, and you should as a master student, go and read up. This was the Anderson book, chapters 2 and 3. And it was the 1 and 2, but it's the Anderson book. Yeah, the answer will fall from the sky from the data, absolutely. So that's the 2 chapters in the Anderson book. There is the additional reading on decision making from Open University. And then I looked at the link I gave you guys. It's really gross. You have to click. So I've PDF'd it. I will upload that for you tonight so you have that PDF. And then from next week, we are going to start bringing in the case study, the South African case study that I want us to look at, of an example of how a government entity, believe it or not, has actually done a pretty good job. And then I have loose little case studies of pretty bad jobs. But we'll start looking at that case study. All right. But for now, I have abused you enough. And thank you for sticking it out till the end. And do you guys understand everything we discussed here tonight? What does the NIDS dataset stand for? It's not ringing a bell off head. Of what in the hell? Off my head.
National Income Dynamics Survey. UCT had it housed in their economics faculty for many, many years. And then what happened was I don't know if it was a contract or some handshake or something basically ended the deal, and now it's housed at Stats SA. And the UCT economics faculty is quite salty about it.
I have never worked with it, but I'd love to go look at it. Yeah. I can show you salty about it.
It was just a massive panel data set, and UCT used to comment about how fantastic it was, and I never thought it was very, very good. But yeah, and it was, I think they had every 2 or 3 years they used to interview the same people, and basically they used it to track living standards and things across South Africa. I never thought it was very comprehensive, but anyway, they used to blow their trumpets about it all the time. I was just wondering if you've come across it. It's closed access, but yeah, I don't know, maybe you come across it.
Actually, let me see if I can pull it. Let me see if I can get it, and then we can look at it in the next lecture, and we can have a talk about that data actually looks like. I used a lot of Statistics South Africa data in my research, and we were actually talking about a community here in Cape Town, in Ocean View, for those of you that live in Cape Town. We were talking about the Ocean View community. I don't know it super duper well. I've only done don't worry, Selena, it's fine. We've done, I've only done a few fieldwork instances here, but we were having, there was Barry was also in the meeting. There was lots of discussions about Afrikaans, like do the people in this community speak Afrikaans or Afrikaans? And then we went and draw. You guys, all my slides are made by Notebook LLM. I'm gonna, in the next slide, let me show you how to do it. It really makes your life a lot easier. If you prompt that thing properly, you're gonna get beautiful slides. In the discussion, and then when we pulled the stats, SA stats, it said the community is 70% Xhosa speaking, which it's not. Don't think is right. I don't think that's right at all. So now I have to go look into that, because there's a community right next to Oceanville called Masipumulele, and I think they've added the data together. So I wouldn't be surprised, Michael. You cannot believe it. Go look, because I've actually reported on it, and I have to go look if I've reported like my butt. But yes, let's look at that data set and see and let's look at it with these things that we've just discussed about the data. And we can practice some data.
I know when they interviewed the people, it was something like a 3 or 4 hour interview. And there's something like 600 or 700 questions or something in this question sheet that they give that they go to the people with to ask these questions. Anyway, and it costed millions of rands and all that nonsense, and so they were quite proud of it. But anyway, yeah, they don't have it anymore. And I had to do my honors paper on it at UCT in the economics faculty, and I just thought this is such garbage. But anyway, they trump on and on about it. But maybe my topic wasn't ideal for it, so yeah.
Well, you never know, but I think we should look at it. I think it would be interesting, and it's interesting to bring a data set in for us to have a look at. And I was going to still download the other data set for you guys, and I forgot. But let's look at some data sets in the next lecture as well. Yeah, and then let's move forward. The assessment should be up by next week, Friday. None of your assessments are hidden, so you can go have a look at them, read them. So I stopped going through assessments for students at third year level, because you have to be able to you can do is, once the assessments are up, read them through, and we'll set up a session for questions. Is that okay with you guys? You can go through the first assessment, and we'll set up a 10 minutes somewhere for questions. Yes, Michael?
I just have one thing. Do we know where the course schedule is? Like when does the semester end, and if there are any semester breaks or like lecture schedules or anything like that? Because I have to go somewhere in June, and I don't know if the course will be finished, or this semester will be finished by then or not.
The semester will absolutely be finished by June, but it's the academic calendar. I will find it for you.
Okay.
And I will upload it on Arc.
I went through the place where I think it's the student information, not student information, but the student documentation or something, where the module guide is, and I didn't come across anything there. So I don't know if I'm looking in the wrong place or yeah.
No, you see, I'm actually very bad at looking in those places, so probably not. But let me get you guys, it's the academic calendar for the course. So let me get it and then upload it for you to Arc so that you have it. In my mind, we'll finish, I think, in May. To my mind, but I just have to look at the assessments. I know the lectures finish in May. I think. Let me get that schedule before I talk out of my own behind here. Let me get that schedule and upload it for you guys. And then in that thing, are you finding the stuff in Arc accessible and easy to find? Or have you not even? Yeah.
Yes, I keep getting an email about Grit. I don't know whatever Grit is.
Grit 360. You getting an email about Grit? Who emails you?
I don't know. I delete the email immediately because I don't know. It's like an automated email. Like please complete my onboarding or some story. I don't know.
Anybody else getting a Grit email?
Yep.
You too. Barry, can you forward it to me? Marufa, like I said, Grit 360 is supposed to, but it's not supposed to go out to master students, but I'm speaking under correction. Grit 360 is supposed to be a program to keep people in their qualifications. It's like a long onboarding thingy thing. It's then I'm not talking and dishing it. I'm trying to think because I was in those meetings a long time ago. But forward me the Grit 360 email and I'll talk to you guys about and then I'll ask the question for you. What is the idea with Grit 360 at Masters? I'm making a list here. Oh, better. Okay, so we need the academic calendar. We need to know about Grit 360. I need to make sure your assessments are up and properly formatted, and then we have to set up a question and answer session for the assessments. Is there anything else you guys need from me?
A passing grade.
I was just about to say.
I respond well to red wine. And, what else do I? Biltong, chocolate. No, I'm teasing. I respond well to students that work hard. But you guys, well, this is not a difficult course to pass. Yeah, Marufaki is typing something. And I'm not allowed to accept bribes. I'm not saying I'm against it, but I'm just saying I will be in a lot of trouble.
It's not a bribe if it just so happens to land up on your desk and you don't know where it's come from and it doesn't have your name on it, then it was just something that was misplaced.
In that case, a chocolate block. I'm trying to think who makes chocolate block.
That's the Franschhoek one. I can't remember now. But it's
from
Franschhoek.
Yeah, Franschhoek. Beierskloof chocolate block. Yeah, if that should just land on my desk in some weird way, that's totally worth it. Yeah, no, I'm teasing. This is recorded. So I was wrong in what I did say to you there. The lectures finished. No, they finished on the 27th of May. Yeah, lectures finish at the end of May. But I don't know where the assessments are. Marufaki, thank you for sharing this. Do you know where the assessments are?
No, not yet.
Pass. Okay, so I also need to find the pass. I will find all of these things. Marufa, I'll download this one and I'll embed it in Arc in an easy place. You guys can just look it up. Yeah, I'll stick it in Arc for you. Okay. All right. So then my last question, and if you want to drop off, you are welcome to. First, I'm going to try.
Welcome back.
I don't know. I've exited many meetings trying to close an attachment. I'm sorry. Those of you that are super quiet in the class, that's also fine. You don't have to talk, but you have to promise me this. If you are confused or worried and you don't want to talk, you are going to send me a WhatsApp. This is my cell phone number. All my students have my cell phone number, and I'm on lots of WhatsApp groups, but I could do with one less. This is my cell phone number, which you are very welcome to use for WhatsApp. Nobody likes phone calls. Phone calls are gross. But you're very welcome to use for WhatsApp if you want to ask me anything or chat anything. I have 2 rules with regards to WhatsApp. The one is if it's after 9 at night, not so great because then I'm old now. I'm aged. Like in 20 minutes, I'm going to be asleep. So after 9 at night, you're only going to get a response the next day, unless just I'm doing something quite late. And the other thing is, if you need to get a hold of me, please be very careful for email, because I'm very often not around my laptop. And then I don't get your email. The quickest and easiest way to find me is on WhatsApp. And then my final, Marufa, what was my rule with you guys last year or the year before when you were a baby? What was the number one rule I had about WhatsApp? Can you remember?
No, I can't remember.
If you need an answer and I haven't given it to you, please harass me until I do. I'm never going to get mad. I'm never going to go like, why did you send me 9 million messages? As a person, I am quite confused. So if you need something from me and I haven't answered you, harass me until you have an answer. I won't get mad, won't be irritated in the slightest. I will just go, so sorry, here's your answer. All right.
Yeah, I'm a witness to that.
Yeah, Marufa, but do I eventually answer you?
You do eventually, and you're not even offended that I asked many times. You're like, oh, I wasn't around. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
There
yeah.
will be no offense, not
Yeah.
a drop. But if you need the answer, you have to chase the answer. Okay, that is it. You guys are welcome to go and have a really good evening. Thank you for joining the lecture, and I will see you again next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Okay, thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Stop the recording before I forget.